the Comptroller and Auditor General's office. Remember them? They were the ones that in a way started the downfall of the Manmohan Singh government. The CAG report on 2G and coal really raised the issue of corruption in the Manmohan Singh government. Now 9 years later, in the Modi government, the CAG has raised the red flag again. Take a look at what the CAG report said. The Bharatmala project, there has been fraud in bidding according to the CAG. The Dwarka Expressway, 250 crores spent on road construction, question being raised over whether this is excess expenditure. NHAI, 132 crores recovered from toll violations and questions being raised whether how this money has been used. Ayushman Bharat scheme, 7.5 lakh beneficiaries were linked to one number. The government has claimed that this number was with beneficiaries who didn't have access to a mobile phone. The Ayodhya development project, questions being raised whether undue benefit has been given to specific contractors. Ministry of Rural Development, pension scheme money being spent on publicity. And HAL aircraft engines, 154 crore loss according to CAG over flaws in design production. So all of this is raising questions. Now, this latest report of the CAG has triggered a political uproar. Opposition parties questioning why is the centre not coming clean on these issues. The BJP dismissing the allegations. What is the truth? That's what we intend to find out. Take a look.
2G scam, coal scam, Commonwealth Games scam. Allegations that rocked the UPA government in its second term, each of them originating in reports of India's national auditor. The latest report of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India has once again triggered political uproar. Suspected discrepancies in the database of a centrally sponsored health scheme. The high cost of an expressway and red flags it raised in several other projects have provided fresh ammunition to the opposition parties to target the BJP government.
Scam after scam is being unearthed right under Mr. Modi's nose, but Mr. Modi chooses to keep quiet. He may call them anti-national, he may jail them, he may even raid them. But the reality is that it starts from the Bharatmala project. There is not one, not two, but 7 CAG scams that have been unearthed. And the Prime Minister stays silent. But I think this is public loot.
Congress alleged that 7 cases from the CAG report reeked of corruption. Its ally in the India coalition, the Aam Aadmi Party, held a protest at the site of the Dwarka Expressway. In its audit, the CAG reported a huge escalation from the approved amount of rupees 18.2 crore per kilometre to rupees 251 crore per kilometre in the highway project. The introduction of an elevated carriageway in the original design attributed to the overrun. The government rejected the audit of the Dwarka Expressway project as misrepresentation of facts. The Road Transport and Highways Ministry sought to explain that it opted for an elevated carriageway on the Haryana portion of the project out of geographical necessity. Another audit in contention. The CAG report on the performance of the centre's Ayushman Bharat health scheme from September 2018 to March 2021. Around 7.5 lakh beneficiaries found to be linked to a single number. Family size of around 43,000 households, unrealistic, ranging from 11 to 201 members. Hospitals in Madhya Pradesh among those found to have disbursed Ayushman benefits to patients already declared dead. According to the report, more than rupees 1.1 crore paid off in such cases across the state, and around 8,000 patients shown to be hospitalized at the same time in different hospitals. According to CAG findings, Bhopal's Jawaharlal Nehru Cancer Hospital, with a declared capacity of 100 patients, admitted 233 patients on a particular day. The hospital, however, claimed many patients were being admitted and discharged the same day.
हमारे यहाँ मोस्टली डे केयर पेशेंट्स आते हैं कीमो लगवाने के लिए, तो वो हमारे यहाँ भर्ती था कहना, मतलब भर्ती शब्द का चयन यहाँ पे मुझे नहीं लगता कि उचित होगा, क्योंकि वो हमारे यहाँ भर्ती होने नहीं आता, वो केवल हमारी देखरेख में कीमो लगवाने आता है। तो अब जो रिपोर्ट है उस पर तो मेरी कोई टिप्पणी नहीं है, पर वस्तुस्थिति जो है उससे मैंने आपको अवगत करा था।
On its part, the Madhya Pradesh government also ruled out wrongdoing in execution of the central health scheme.
देखिए, जांच का विषय है, कहीं कोई गलती नहीं है, मैं फिर ऑथेंटिक बोल रहा हूँ, कहीं किसी ने कोई इंटेंशनली गलती की होगी ऐसा नहीं है। बहुत बार किसी के मोबाइल नंबर नहीं रहते हैं, तो जिसके नंबर होते हैं वो दर्ज कर दिया।
The opposition parties, however, determined to leverage the current audit findings, highlighting irregularities in diverse projects.
The string of CAG reports raised several question marks over flagship development projects of the Modi government. The Congress has slammed the silence of the agencies and questioned the role of the Prime Minister. The opposition will only be pinning its hope that history would repeat itself and the CAG would play a pivotal role that it did in the past in throwing the UPA government out of power. With video journalist Ashwini Helen, this is Mosmi Singh in Delhi for India Today.
And joining me now on my political face-off on the CAG report, whether the government of the day can really claim to be free of corruption charges, Supriya Srinath, the Congress spokesperson, and Syed Zafar Islam, BJP spokesperson. Supriya Srinath, I saw your press conference today where you've attacked the Modi government and said they must come clean on the CAG report. The Modi government says that they have answers to each of the charges made in these reports. This cannot be likened to 2G and coal, where there was a loot, according to them, of public monies. You're making a false comparison, comparing what the CAG did in 2G and coal with what they have spoken about. These are issues which they claim do not lead to the Prime Minister's office or cabinet ministers. They will be answered in due course.
So thank you for having me on the show, Rajdeep. It's a great evening to be here, and it's a good evening to the fellow panelists and also to your viewers. I am not comparing what one has seen the CAG unearthed to anything in the past, because what was unearthed in the past did not stand the scrutiny in court. So actually there are lots and lots of people who must with folded hands apologize for the kind of charges that were leveled, some from the media fraternity as well. I'm not comparing any of that. I am simply stating some facts. In the last few days, reports have been tabled by the Comptroller and Auditor General, the Chief Auditor of this country, in the Parliament, and those reports, not one, not two, have unearthed 7 such scams. And those scams range from the Bharatmala project to the Dwarka Expressway, to the NHAI loot, to the Ayodhya Development Project, to the Ayushman Bharat scheme, to the Rural Development Ministry, and to HAL. Those are the big 7 things that, there are very, very worrying things that are appearing. And unlike anything that we have seen in the past, most of these scams are appearing in places which directly impact the common people of this country, whether it's Ayushman Bharat or Bharatmala.
When you use the word scam, let's get it very clear. When you use the word scam, for example, in the Ayushman Bharat scheme, 7.5 lakh numbers are being linked to 7.5 lakh accounts are being linked to one number. The government is saying in its defense that these are people who did not have mobile accounts, hence they dialed from a particular number. This is not evidence of a scam. Plus, there are lakhs of people who benefited from Ayushman Bharat. You can't single out a small group and say that there's a scam.
So let me state some facts for you, just that people of this country should know what's happening with Ayushman Bharat. The sole case of 7.5 lakh people registered with one phone number, I find it bizarre that they do not have phones. But 1.24 lakh people in the Ayushman Bharat scheme are registered with only 1,84,000 phones. 1,24 lakh people registered on 1,84,000 phones. The reality is that over 88,000 people who were being treated in Ayushman Bharat died during the treatment. But claims over 2 lakh have continued to be made. Payments have gone for fresh treatment. Who has that money gone to? It has clearly not gone to the beneficiary. So where has that money evaporated? I will also lay another example before you. The CAG randomly audited 5 toll plazas. And in that audit, they found out that the NHAI was wrongly and in a flawed way charging 132 crore, which was misappropriated from the people of this country. Just 5 toll plazas, mind you. Extrapolate that number and tell me how much money falsely collected from the people would it be. Another example I want to give you, the Dwarka Expressway. The approved cost was 18 crore per kilometer. It escalated to 250 crore per kilometer. I wonder what they were building, because 2 kilometers of the Dwarka Expressway actually sent Mangalyaan. Mangalyaan done at 500 crore rupees at the cost. And the last point that I want to make, and this is an extremely important, extremely serious point. The CCEA, which is the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, approved and is also the authority that presides over and keeps monitoring the expenses as far as the Bharatmala project is concerned. The approved cost was 15.37 crore per kilometer. It doubled to over 32 crore per kilometer, which is almost to the tune of 7.5-8 lakh crore rupees. Are you telling me this is all cost escalation? And last but not the least, Rajdeep, and I think one must spend more time on this, the Rural Development Ministry has a pension fund under it, which provides pension in 3 categories: pension for the widowed, pension for the old age pension, and also for the physically disabled. Money from this scheme was diverted for putting hoardings in every district of 19 states in the Swachh Bharat fortnight. Are you kidding me? I mean, money that was meant for old, the poor, the aged, the widowed and the physically challenged was being used for advertisements in other schemes. How do you justify that? If this is not a scam, please explain me what is.
Okay, Zafar Islam, the floor is yours, because there are specific instances that are cited by the CAG. Dwarka Expressway, rupees 18 crore per km, sanction amount rose to rupees 250 crore per kilometer. There was a 10 crore increase per kilometer in the Bharatmala project. There are Ayushman Bharat schemes where there are allegedly dummy beneficiaries. Respond specifically to the very specific charges being made in a Comptroller and Auditor General report.
Well, Rajdeep, I think she should remember that it is Modi's government where corruption is something which is being directly being everybody is accountable for everything, and nobody can do the corruption in this government, unlike the Manmohan Singh government where everybody was having license, particularly from the first family, that they were looting the country. And at that point in time, prior to 2014, the Congress party was known as party of scams and scamsters. Nobody even talks about this scams about this government. But let me give you some specific details. People are talking about, and I heard about this CAG report. I think there is some misrepresentation, or the way the CAG has presented it is very different than the ground reality or the truth. Let me tell you one thing, like for instance, you are talking about the Dwarka Expressway. I mean, when you are, and the CAG has mentioned about it, that the massive construction has taken place. When this 18 crore was when it was 4 lane. Eventually it was 14 lane, including 6 lane of service road, 8 lane plus 6 lane of service road. Then elevated road in Haryana. So all put together, the cost escalation has to happen, because it was not only for 4 lane, initially it was envisaged, and that time the cost maybe at 18 crore or 20 crore, whatever it may be the cost. But when you are actually doing a massive construction, the size of the project has gone up. The total construction
No, so
done
are
by
you accusing the CAG of
the
misrepresenting? Sir, are you accusing the CAG of misrepresenting
not
these
accusing.
facts?
I'm only saying that, stating that these will be clarified. The way they have presented it seems that they have not captured all the details that it was initially for 4-lane, now it is for 14-lane. And the entire specifics had changed during the construction period. So initially whatever was planned or envisaged, eventually something very different has been delivered. Right. And as a result, when you are planning for 4-lane and eventually it was constructed 6-lane, 8-lane plus 6 service lane, so 14-lane, eventually the cost has to go up. So that is something which has not been captured in the CAG report, except that the massive construction has taken place. That's why the cost must have, cost escalation must have been gone up. Something which has been mentioned in the CAG report. Second thing about Ayushman. What nonsense people are talking about. Everybody who has been enrolled in Ayushman, their Aadhaar card has been taken. An Aadhaar card, you cannot make Aadhaar card without biometrics. So biometric detail has been captured, and everybody knows that during Congress government there were people who have never born in this country, but still they were the beneficiary because somebody in the system was enrolling somebody who has never born in this country. 10 crore people, such people have been eliminated from the list of beneficiaries, and we have said more than 2 lakh crore or 3 lakh crore because of this elimination process, and that's something which now digitally we have connected everyone, so we know that exactly who are the beneficiary and who should be the beneficiary. In this case, number, what people are saying about the number, because the number has no relevance. Phone number has no relevance because in the rural area there are many people who have no phone, but they are the beneficiary because there is Aadhaar card, and everybody who has been treated, their Aadhaar card has been taken prior to giving them any treatment. So all these will, whatever the allegation Supriya is making, that will get clarified by all the agencies. Even CAG will see that these details will be clarified.
Okay. So you're claiming that the government will clarify
take away from the beneficiaries.
Okay, you're claiming that the government will clarify. For example, Supriya Srinath on the Ayush.
Some clarification.
On the Ayushman Bharat scheme, there is some merit in what is being. Just a minute, sir. There is some merit in what Dr. Islam is saying, that the Ayushman Bharat beneficiary has to provide his Aadhaar card to get those benefits. So even if he or she does not have a mobile number, as long as the Aadhaar card is taken, it cannot be seen as a dummy beneficiary, is what he claims. On cost escalation in projects, he says that when you had the elevated corridor, for example, when you increase the number of lanes, that is where the cost escalation has taken place. These questions will be addressed. You cannot, I repeat, compare it to the large amounts which, according to the CAG, were lost during the 2G auction and indeed in the case of the coal mine auction. Your response?
So I will firstly put out a simple fact just to inform my worthy opponent from the BJP. You are talking about Aadhaar cards. Let's talk about Aadhaar cards for Ayushman Bharat. 4,761 cases have been found. And remember, this is not the full audit. 4,761 registrations for Ayushman Bharat have happened on 7 Aadhaar cards. Not on individual Aadhaar cards, only 7 Aadhaar cards. How are you going to explain that? Does that explain biometric? Does that explain that how do 7 Aadhaar cards actually result in the registration of almost 4,700 people? And this is just one stray number that I'm telling you. There are multiple more. Look, Rajdeep, the reality is that the CAG is India's Comptroller and Auditor General. It is meant to audit the government's expenses that are constituted by taxpayers' money, and each one of us is a taxpayer, rich, poor, middle class or otherwise, because we either pay indirect taxes or we pay direct taxes. The reality is that half this country, which is, the below 50%, is actually paying 64% of the GST. That's thanks to Mr. Modi. But the reality also is, because these numbers are being put by the CAG within Parliament to question the CAG and to say that they are such fools that they got the numbers wrong. I am actually waiting for the day when the BJP spokespersons will come on your channel and the government and the troll army and the BJP's fake news factory will call CAG anti-national. the CAG will be raided, the CAG will be shut down, the CAG will be said that they're conspiring with anti-Modi, anti-India international conspiracy. You mark my words, there will soon be a day when that happens.
Okay,
I want to say two more things here.
Rajdeep.
I think the abject silence of large sections of media, Rajdeep, and I congratulate you for having the courage to do a show on the CAG reports. No other show, not one, no other show barring this is happening in primetime television when 7 irregularities, 7 scams have been unearthed. I also want to say one thing here. A very, very big story has come to light today, and I think that shows the working of this government. You know, our investigative batch of journalists have found out that the anti-farmer laws that Mr. Modi eventually had to withdraw, had to rub his nose on the ground and withdraw those farm laws, were actually a figment of imagination that came from a software company owner in the United States. He was an NRI. He gave this suggestion. He became a task force. They started consulting the Adani Group, the Mahindra Group, the ITC, and that's how the farm laws came. This explains how they work. This explains who they work for. This explains their priorities.
Okay.
The reality, Zafar, is only one question I'm asking you. How could money from widow pension, old age pension, and physically challenged people be diverted for advertisements in any other scheme? It's morally corrupt. Forget about the economic irregularities.
Zafar Islam,
See,
you know, you see that the rural development project, for example, rural development ministry's funds being diverted for advertising. These are issues that surely need to be looked at. You can't brush everything aside and saying that, you know, none of these irregularities matter. This
not
is
at
the
all.
CAG
I'm not
report.
brushing up. Not Rajdeep, I'm not brushing off any of the details or highlighted or the allegation she is making or the Congress party is making. All I'm trying to tell you that CAG has observed some certain thing. Maybe the response of the ministry should have been very different than the way it has been captured in the CAG report. There are many instances in audit firm, when they do audit, they come up with so many observations. It is for the responsibility of the concerned people who are engaging the auditors to clarify every single observation they make. So if you go through the audit process, I'm sure the Supriya has gone, I have gone many times as a banker, that audit firm's responsibility to highlight issues of all these observations, and then when you sit with them, you clarify with them. I think there are many clarifications which it should have gone, has not gone the way it should have gone. And that's why it is not that intentionally they are misrepresenting. The way they are representing it could be misleading.
You're claiming there is no malified
information
intention.
which is actually away from reality.
Okay. We'll wait and see.
Absolutely not.
Okay, you're saying
It's
there's
a
no malified intention. Supriya Srinath says there are 7 clear
stated objective of this government.
Okay. Ma'am, I want to leave it there. I appreciate. Yeah, you have 30 seconds, Supriya Srinath, not a second more.
20 seconds is all I asked for.
Yes.
I'll
30 seconds to me too.
It's not just the financial irregularities. It is also the bidding and the tendering process that is flawed in Bharatmala, that is flawed in the Ayodhya development project, that's flawed in other projects. It also raises question. A safety consultant wasn't appointed in some sections of the Bharatmala project. That's how you prioritize human lives in this country.
Okay,
so
your time is up.
It's about financial irregularities, which there are,
okay,
but also about the bidding and the tendering process.
Zafar Islam, 20 seconds to you. Ma'am, you've made your point. You've crossed Zafar Islam, 20 seconds to you.
Actually, it is our government which believes in transparency. The bidding process is absolutely transparent, unlike during the Congress regime where the deal was made by the minister himself. Who are you trying to preach?
Okay.
Everyone knows
at
what
the moment,
the
of
Congress
course,
party was doing
at the moment,
in this ministry.
They
were bringing all the...
At the moment the BJP is in power. This is a CAG report on specific departments in the Modi government. The government is now saying they will clarify on the issues. But for now, Supriya Srinath, Zafar Islam, appreciate your joining us on the news today.